Hello YouTube, Stainless here with another EDC gear video for you. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about the Buck 110 Folding Hunter. Just an iconic knife, just a legend. When it came out in the 60s, it was revolutionary. It gave hunters and people in the trades, outdoorsmen, fishermen, the ability to have, in essence, what's a folding knife. Since the blade does lock, it's a lock back, but you could carry it safely by folding it like that. The blade was surrounded by metal, mainly brass, steel in the back liner, and when you needed it, you could just open it up and it would lock into place, like a solid fixed blade. So it was safe to carry. It wasn't as long, and if you fell or tripped up or were just kind of wrestling with the elements, and you didn't have to worry about the blade of a fixed blade getting pushed through the sheath and maybe cutting you or injuring you in some way. So I mean, it was just very, very popular. It just really took off. For the years, it has been copied a lot. Brass, wood, and stainless steel. Its formulation has changed over the decades. Currently, they use 420 HC, and it's not like a premium super steel that you can get these days, but Buck has a process. They call it the Bose heat treat. What really helps them get the most out of the steel. It will hold an edge, and the geometry also lends itself to making it a really good slicer, but it will hold an edge for a while. And since it is a 420 HC, it's not the hardest steel in the world. It's just really easy to touch it up. You can have a ceramic rod or one of these pocket sharpeners, and that's going to do great. So you can field dress your game, and if it dulls up, you sharpen up and you're good to go. It is a beast of a knife. Let's see. My scale's showing 7.35 ounces. So yeah, it's something that's gonna, I don't know if you'd really want to pocket carry it. I wouldn't. It's kind of heavy. And you can get different sheaths. One sheath that, I don't know if it was the original design, but back in the 70s, on television, there was a show called The Dukes of Hazzard. These two boys that drove this, what kind of car was it? This fancy car, and they had buck knives, and they had this type of sheath, and you could see it. If you can imagine, this sits off kind of far away from your body because of that loop. It's really fine, well-crafted sheath, nice leather, but I never liked it. It just seemed to flop around and was just out of balance. But I mean, it was a handsome-looking sheath. It's one of the designs that they had for the buck knife. I don't know how long they were doing this, but if you can see, there's the different markings on this one. You've got Idaho, and this actually commemorates when Buck moved its facilities to the state of Idaho. And you can date your buck knives by the different various stamps. Over the years, there have been different iterations and styles. Have the same blade, 420 HC, but with a titanium handle. Basically, the lockback design is the same. Recently, well, not recently, Buck has also come out with other knives that had aluminum handles, and this is actually an aluminum handle. And just to give you an idea, wow, it almost cuts the weight of that knife in half. This one has a titanium handle, and pretty much it's a lot lighter. So yeah, you can carry this around. Even in this unbalanced sheath that I showed you, it's carries really well when you have a light knife like this. I'm not sure when it started. Buck had a custom shop where you could customize your knife. You could get it's basically buck knife look, but you could go with nickel silver bolsters instead of the brass. They had different inlays. You could, different woods, exotic looking woods, even other natural things like buffalo horn was one. You could get stag, and there was a beautiful handle material that was abalone, just gorgeous, but the abalone was the most expensive. The abalone alone was going to be, put the knife in the $400 range. And if you're lucky, you could get different offerings of the steel. Like these, all of these steels are their basic 420 HC, which is an excellent steel. Definitely more steel than I would ever need for my usage. But you could also order, let's see, whatever premium steels that they had at the time. Oh, here's another design. Buck has had plastic handled knives. Let's see what this one comes in at. $3.25. Man, about 14 years ago, I was going through the knife forums and things. There was an article someone posted about how Buck, the custom shop, if you ordered the premium steel, which I forgot what it was at the time, they were filling their orders with a steel called BG42. It's a very hard steel used for ball bearings. And I saw that, and I'm a big fan of BG42 steel. I know Sabenza used to use that. It's hard to come by, actually. I think it's just difficult to work with or something. But yeah, they were filling these orders. So I took a shot. I placed an order, hoping to get that steel, and I did luck out. And if you can kind of see, it's BG42 stamped, Buck custom. And this is cherry. And they let you you can get your initials and dates and things put into it. But yeah, BG42 steel. It's got a little use on it because I've carried and I've used this for a while. And again, that's a steel that does way more steel than I'm ever going to need. I don't use my knives that much. I'm not a hunter. I'm really just mainly a collector. But it's really nice. Basically, you could maybe you could field dress deer, and you would start noticing that the standard 420 HC is starting to get dull, and you can notice it's taking more pressure to cut, and you need more strokes to get what you to cut the material the way you did when you first started out. But you just touch it up and it's sharp. This will get you through a lot further. Maybe get you through dressing out the whole deer without even noticing a difference in performance. It was nice. I think a nice little price there. It did cost me just a little bit over $100, and I actually ended up ordering more. Here's an example of, this is indigo wood with the nickel silver bolsters, and this was ordered to be a user, so I didn't really risk totally damaging. Maybe I could pass this on to someone. And the steel on this is, there you go, that's the symbol for the Bose heat treat. S30V, so it's not just the formulation S30V, it's S30V with the Bose heat treat. And that's a premium cutlery steel. Not the latest, greatest these days. They have steels that are just amazing, but it's nothing to scoff at too. It's a vast improvement over the 420 HC, that high carbon steel. This is one. I lucked out. There must have been a sprint run, and I was able to find my favorite steel again. If you could look at that, nickel silver bolsters. It really doesn't show up. Oh, there you go. You can kind of see that the wood handle just has this really nice smoky look to it. Get this there, the Bose BG42 steel. And it's a different, this is the drop point. Difference with this, and this is a general all-use knife. You have the clip point. They call it clip points. It looks like some clipped out part of the blade. It comes to a really fine tip. It's great for really fine detail work, but if you look, that tip is very thin, so you have to be careful. If you pry even wrong or come sideways, it's going to snap off. very easily. This, if you can kind of tell, it has a little more material close to the tip, so it makes the tip stronger. But please don't ever pry with your knives. They're not pry bars. The steel is hardened, so that means that it's brittle and it will snap. And I've seen a lot of really beautiful knives lose their blade tips when they're used as pry bar. Got this one for $90. It was part of some type of sprint run. Let's see, and there's all different accessories. You can add a easy opening thumb stud. The small little Allen wrench, you can attach it and you can put it up higher or lower depending on what feels good in your hand. Kind of functions like that, so that way you're holding maybe the rope with one hand, you pull this out of your sheath, you're able to operate it one-handed without letting go of the material you're cutting. And then this one, I just wanted another custom buck. This is micarta, an example of the different materials they use. Had the brass bolsters, and decided to get the black finish on the blade. You can order the serrations. I just wanted something different, so I got serrations on it. And of course they can, there's my name. It's really nice, and it's a shiny black finish on the back. It's just beautiful. It doesn't really, this camera's not doing it justice, but especially in the sunlight, just really pops. It's a gorgeous knife that I got for myself. Different sheaths. This came with one of my custom knives. It's a nice little sheath. It works okay. It's a little, it doesn't, it's like the other sheath. It's a little off balance. This comes with the basic 110 you could get, that you would get at Academy or Walmart. And on the back, you can do horizontal carry with these loops or belt carry. And actually, this one carries really, really well. This also came from the custom shop. And it's not much different than that one of the other leather sheaths I showed you. But this one, for some reason, I can't really crack the code. If the loop's up higher, it just carries really, really well. It's a pleasure to carry. And this leather, I don't know, they stressed it or what, but it's just really soft. Feels really, really good. Oh, here's another iteration of the Buck 110. Kind of a nice sheath, really pops. You can, if you have a thin enough belt, horizontal carry as well as perpendicular carry. And this is called, it's a commemorative type knife. It's called the Smoke Jumper. It's a plastic handle. And this one is, let's make sure, 154 cm. Steel. It's a premium steel. It's a great knife steel. With the Boss heat treatment, it's phenomenal. You get that Boss heat treatment gives you the most out of the steel, whatever that steel is. And this is the Smoke Jumper, and it's really, really nice. It's really lightweight. And I haven't used these plastic knives like to their near destructive limit, and I wouldn't, because I love these things. I collect them. This was actually only $40. And you get a premium steel blade on it. Really light. You could carry this in your pocket and not even know it's there. If you put this in that belt sheet on your belt, you're going to forget it's even there. And same blade as the other knives, except for the drop point. It's really, really nice. They also came out one, I think it was to commemorate the police. The handle was blue, and the blade steel, I think, might have been S30V. But it was really gorgeous. I haven't been able to chase one down yet. Let's see, I showed you the different sheaths. As it turns out, one of my favorite sheaths to carry my buck knives in turns out to be one of the cheapest. It's this one. And when you put your knife in it, it seems like it just barely wants to fit. Let me show you. And there's only one way it's going to go in because it is shaped that way. You kind of see it, horizontal carry as well as belt carry. This, even with the full weighted 110s, this carries the best of all the sheaths I have, believe it or not. It's probably the cheapest sheath, not cheap as far as like quality, but I guess the expense to make. It's just nylon, it's not Cordura. It's just nylon, but it's thick. It's canvas nylon, and it just carries so well. It's keeps it close to you, I guess. It doesn't flop around a lot. It just feels really nice on the side. And you can horizontal carry it, same thing. It stays really close to you, your center of gravity, and just feels really nice. You almost forget that the knife's even there, even when you're carrying a full weighted buck 110. These were great. When I was a kid, having one of these, the buck 110, just kind of made you a god, made you the envy of all the other kids you hung out with. In our little adventures, going out in the woods and building little forts and stuff, it was really, really a neat, handy tool to have. Yes, back in the day, little kids ran around with buck 110 folding hunters if they could afford it. That was the other thing. These days, forget it. You could end up paying $65 for a buck knife at Academy or Walmart. The last buck 110, let me say, not the last buck 110 I bought. I think that would have been this one, which was $40. But the last old Dynawood brass 420 HC buck knife that I got from a store cost me $26 and some change. Maybe, not even $30 after tax. Walked out the door with it, and just the prices just went crazy. And there's something about just the way it feels in the hand. It just, that curve it has just naturally seems to hug your palm and just hold your fingers together. It's just an amazing feel. It's solid. It's definitely, with just a little care, it's going to last for generations. I'll be dead and buried. My children will be dead and buried, and they can still pass these things on to grandchildren, great-grandchildren. They can still get a lot of use out of it. So long as you don't just put a grindstone or a grinding wheel to this thing, if you just use the ceramic rods and protect your edge, you can get centuries out of this blade, depending on how you use it. Like I said, I'm not a hunter. I really don't work in the trades either, so it's more steel than I'm ever going to need. But even if I were a hunter, worked in the trades, if I took care of it, used it the way it was meant to be used, and didn't remove a lot of material when I was sharpening it, like used a carbonium stone, or just stick with ceramic rods, and yeah, you could get, lifetimes out of use out of one of these blades. And of course, buck will replace them. If you have something that got passed down from your father or grandfather, you can actually have the blades replaced. You can even put a premium blade in a basic buck 110. So you're going to pay for it, but you know what? It's kind of worth it. As a kid, these were like a hot item, and it meant that you could, carve a bow and arrow or a tent stake or anything you needed out in the woods to help build a fort, or camping, clean fish, do food prep. If you were working, open cardboard boxes, strapping, if you need to make a starter hole to put a screw into a board or something, it was just there. It was amazing. As a kid, I venerated these things. They were a little pricier than the other offerings. I think Schrade had a lockback knife. You saw a lot of the Schrades because they were inexpensive. Great knives. I have a collection of those too. Love those things. But yeah, this was like, it was like Excalibur. It's like the Holy Grail. It was just amazing. And you would not be underknifed in just about any situation if you had this. It would serve you well. Well, those are some of my buck knives. I have a lot more, and the other different types and different steels that I'd like to share with you sometime. I hope you really enjoyed this. And again, if you get a hold of one of these, one thing about a tool like this, if you take care of it and you use it, it almost seems, in a way, it's like carrying a story stick. All the little nicks and dents and bangs, they can tell a story, and then maybe it serves you well for decades, and you could pass it on to your progeny, and they could just have that connection with you that just crosses that time barrier, geography, time, generations, and then they could add their own nicks and stories to it, and maybe pass it on. It's just really beautiful. And it's just, like I said, just holding it, it's almost like you're in like a time machine, and you're connecting to that first Oh, our ancestors that had those stone tools and relied on them so much, man. If you had this back in those days, it would have made you a god. Well, buck 110. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.